Fitness is not one-dimensional, but the online fitness space, specifically the men's online fitness space, might lead you to believe that it is. Specifically, bodybuilding seems to be the central focus of men's fitness, and bodybuilding is not fitness. And bodybuilding at the top of the sport is actually quite unhealthy, so you could argue that it's unfit. I'm a natural fitness athlete. I've never used any type of PEDs, TRT, peptides, completely not my thing. I'm that fitunk, Baltimore City personal trainer, weightlifter, cyclist, fitness fanatic. I make instructional videos about fitness, commentary about fitness. If that's something that you'd be interested in, consider subscribing, liking, and commenting, and joining the Fit Fam. Now let's get into it. Fitness isn't one-dimensional, though the online fitness space, specifically the men's online fitness space, does seem to push a one-dimensional definition or image of fitness. And that image, I'd say, is bodybuilding. Bodybuilding alone isn't true fitness. Bodybuilding is very specialized, and true fitness is highly generalized. And there's a plethora of reasons why bodybuilding as a sport is actually unhealthy the further you get along in the sport. Saying bodybuilding is unhealthy, I'm aware, is a hot take and a large claim, but allow me to back it up. These are the 3 reasons that I personally don't consider bodybuilding as an effective tool for achieving peak fitness. 1, there's a crazy emphasis on PED use at the top of bodybuilding. And you can't make it to the top of bodybuilding or even close to the top of bodybuilding without using PEDs. If you don't believe me, look up all of the recent winners of Mr. Olympia. You're not making it anywhere near that stage if you're not on gear. And this problem has even bled out to natural bodybuilding, where all these natural bodybuilders with their pro card aren't actually natural, but they're just on a lighter gear regimen versus all the guys over at Olympia. Secondly, the diets that are accepted as normal and standard within the bodybuilding space are absolutely absurd and more or less are all just starvation diets. This has led to bodybuilding basically becoming a eating disorder contest, who can starve themselves the most and push themselves the hardest. But starvation diets come at a massive cost to your actual health. And health and fitness are kind of synonymous. But that big cost to your health is going to be in the form of your natural hormone production. If you're starving yourself to get on the bodybuilding stage, it's very common for bodybuilders in prep, contest prep, leading up to the contest to talk about how their natural hormone production is completely shot, which can make a plethora of issues that you can Google yourself. Lastly, the de-emphasis on cardio and cardiovascular health as a whole is completely absurd to me. The heart is the most important muscle in the body. Gear use enlarges your heart, and conversely enough, a larger heart is actually a weaker heart. I know that's counterintuitive. Secondly, a lot of bodybuilders are paranoid about doing cardio in spite of their muscle gain. The idea is you want to gain as much muscle as possible while doing as little cardio as possible. But you see, the thing is, cardio actually strengthens your heart. But having additional muscle mass, your body just reads that as a higher BMI. So your heart's going to be working extra hard to sustain that extra mass. So at the same time that you're doing nothing to strengthen your heart, you're doing quite a lot of things to weaken your heart, and you're putting extra strain on your heart from all that extra muscle mass. The cognitive dissonance is insane. None of this computes. And for those 3 reasons, I don't really see bodybuilding as an effective tool for achieving general fitness. Though it can be an effective tool for specializing or just bringing up one individual muscle group or individual muscle, which has a lot of use for athletes. You might be a long jumper trying to, increase the distance that you jump. I actually don't know what long jumpers do. I think they jump far. But you might be trying to increase the distance that you jump, and for that reason, you might take some kind of bodybuilding exercises and bring up one muscle in your leg at a time. And that makes perfect sense. But to say bodybuilding is, this one size fits all fitness solution is completely disingenuous and outright untrue. But I understand why you would think that, because there's tons of unnatural, fake natural fitness athletes, fake natural influencers, or just outright, gear using influencers telling you, hey, you got to be on trend to be a trend twin. And I'm here to tell you, hey, that is not the right path, and it's actually going to lead you in the opposite direction of fitness. An aesthetic body isn't necessarily a fit one. This is ever more apparent when you look at the sport of bodybuilding. Hate to pick on you guys, but bodybuilders have drugs that make you more vascular, giving you pec veins and ab veins and the illusion of extreme fitness, while at the same time destroying your insides, destroying your heart health, destroying your natural organ function. An aesthetic body truly is not a fit one. You gotta look closer. Well, by now, you're probably wondering, what is true fitness then? And I'll tell you, by now, I'm also wondering, have you subscribed? Nonetheless, let me tell you what true fitness actually is. Simply put, fitness is performance, or at least adjacent to performance. And performance is something that has multiple pillars that might define it. What are those pillars that define fitness and performance? I'll let you know. General fitness can be broken down into these 4 core pillars, supported by a foundation of organ health. Never forget that foundation. It's critically important. But the 4 pillars of general fitness, in my personal opinion, not ChatGPT, would be strength, aerobics, mobility, and explosivity. And as you can see here, some of these pillars have sub-pillars. So strength, I would say, could be broken down into body weight strength or raw strength with a barbell. These 2 things are completely different. You have athletes who can do 20 pull-ups but can't deadlift their body weight. Then you have people who can deadlift 3-4 times their body weight who could never do 20 pull-ups. And then aerobic fitness also has subcategories. You have speed and endurance. You have athletes who are the fastest sprinters alive but could never run a mile. And then you also have people who can run the fastest miles you can imagine, but when it comes to sprinting, they're slow as molasses. These might be slight exaggerations, but you get the idea. These subcategories exist for a reason because there is a difference in between your aerobic speed and your aerobic endurance, but both of those things are aerobic performance. Same thing with body weight strength versus raw strength. And the reason that I keep this foundation here of organ health is because performance-enhancing drugs. Performance-enhancing drugs have made it so that you might have, a crazy sprint, or you might have a crazy 1-rep max lift, but those are just borrowed gains. Because when on performance-enhancing drugs, give it 12 months, 18 months, 36 months, and you'll be lucky if you're still here, let alone performing. But these are your 4 pillars of general fitness. Focus on these 4 pillars here of general fitness and their subcategories as well, and I guarantee you will be your fittest self naturally. Now, I'm a fitness fanatic, and if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. But if you go through my YouTube, you're going to see me on my bicycle, you're going to see me lifting weights and doing body weight exercise. So I feel like I'm perfectly situated to give you guys advice on how to focus on each specific pillar of fitness. With your strength, like I said, you've got body weight strength and raw strength. And I really feel like there should be, an intention with your training, whether you want to be someone who has crazy absurd body weight strength or crazy absurd raw barbell strength. As you get further along, you can kind of mix the two, your raw strength gains will help you with your body weight stuff and your calisthenic strength. And your calisthenic strength, once you get really far along, will also help you with your raw strength. But I do think you should be intentional with how you train either of these, because if you're trying to be a generalist in both, it's going to slow down a lot of your progress. But that's not to say that you can't make progress on both at the same time. With that being said, if you're focusing on your body weight strength, this is not really controversial. You probably know this. Calisthenics, do it all. Gymnastics, calisthenics, body weight exercise, do that in repetition. Same way that you would train in the gym, just train without a gym or train with your gym without weights. Pull-ups, push-ups, squats, goblet squats, pistol squats, the whole 9 yards. Do those things. Focus on a calisthenics-based program to increase your body weight strength. Pretty simple. Raw strength is actually a lot more complicated because you might think just go to the gym. But there's a difference in how you're training, whether you're training for hypertrophy or for strength. And in short, basically, to train for strength, you can increase the strength of individual muscle fibers. Versus training for hypertrophy, you're training to increase the amount of muscle mass and muscle volume you have, but you're not actually optimizing that muscle mass or muscle volume to be as strong as possible. A little bit complicated, but basically, if you're training for strength and you're training for raw strength, you want to be intentional with your programming, your rep schemes, your sets, and your exercise selection to make sure that you're actually getting stronger and you're not just doing a hypertrophy style training that makes you slightly stronger as a byproduct. Moving right along, aerobic. Now, your aerobic capacity, your lungs, your heart, etc., you have quite a lot of different weapons in your arsenal, a bunch of tools in your tool belt. And just do whatever you can stick with. If you're a runner, run. If you're a swimmer, swim. Me, I'm a cyclist, so I cycle. Now, there are, different benefits, caveats to doing each different type of aerobic exercise. Running is what's called a high impact sport. So you are going to be doing a lot of damage. I hate to say it, but damage to, your knees, your tendons in your legs, things of that nature from the repeated impact from running. But you can mitigate that with changing the shoes that you wear and changing the surface that you're running on. But if you want to choose a low impact cardio, there are things like swimming and things like road cycling, but those all individually have their own caveats, cons, pros, etc. Swimming, you have to know how to swim. I do know how to swim, but I have no affinity for swimming laps in a pool. And you have to have access to a body of water where you can swim, whether that be a lap pool or some huge, safe body of water. You can't just be swimming across your lake back and forth, even if you have one, because there's safety concerns and they're extremely real. Road cycling kind of suffers from the same caveats that swimming does. You have to have a bike. Bikes are really expensive, and you have to do it safely. Road cycling does have a major safety concern, which is you're out there on the road with cars. You can get hit by one of them. Secondly, road bikes are crazy fast. You're doing 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles per hour, and God forbid that you crash, not even with a car. Just crash with yourself going that fast. Oof. You just got to do that one time, and you're never going to want to do it again. But those are my three main tools for, increasing your aerobic capacity, 3 great tools for becoming a better endurance athlete. Running, swimming, cycling. There's tons more. You can get on the skier, you can get on the rower, but you get the idea. High impact, low impact. Do you have access to the tools necessary? Choose what works for you. Then this one is pretty straightforward. It doesn't have a subcategory, and that's mobility. Now, training with weights, training, for raw strength can put a lot of strain on your tendons, ligaments, etc., which can in turn make you pretty stiff walking around like a robot. Now, to avoid moving like an 80-year-old man when you're 29 like myself, you're going to want to be stretching, and stretching before you stretch, stretching before you lift, stretching after you lift. Mobility is not to be slept on. And if you want to be a better weightlifter, you're going to want to be mobile. You need ankle dorsiflexion, which is the mobility in your ankles. You're going to need your hips to be nice and, lubricated. Couldn't think of a better adjective, but you need your hips to move well. You need your ankles to move well. You need your shoulders to move well. Mobility is a core element of fitness. And unfortunately, a lot of us, rather than becoming actually fit, we become specialists. What do I mean? Well, you have power lifters who can, quite literally squat 800 pounds, but, you ask them to do an air squat and things get awkward because, we neglect our mobility. Don't do that. Don't be a specialist. Be a generalist. Be fit. Do your mobility. Do your strength training. Do your aerobic work. Last but not least, explosivity. What does that mean? Well, it's a slept on and forgotten element of fitness, but it is extremely real. Explosivity, think of it like your torque in your body. How quickly do you accelerate? So you might have a really high top speed when you run, but how quickly do you get to that top speed? And you're like, why does that matter? Well, you need to be explosive in basically every single sport. And if you lack that explosive power, that acceleration, then your athletic ability is going to be greatly hindered. And once again, you're going to be a specialist. Basically, do you want to play O-line when you're playing football, offensive line. Basically, you're not very mobile, you're not very explosive, but you're a big, strong brick. Or do you want to be the cool person, the linebacker, the defensive back, the wide receiver, because you're explosive, you can cut, you can move, you can generate a ton of power really quickly. Same thing in basketball. Basketball has tons of agility drills where you go from cone to cone to cone to cone. And you don't necessarily need raw speed. You don't necessarily need endurance, and you definitely don't need strength to complete these drills, but what you do need is explosive power. And then you take that same explosive power and you combine it with these other elements of fitness, I don't know, like strength, and then you get sports like Olympic weightlifting, where you explode into the bar, and then you use your strength in conjunction with your explosivity and your speed, and now you have something super cool. You take all these different elements of fitness and you make this fitness lemonade. Explosive power is not to be slept on, and it is a core element of fitness, and it is one of the most core elements of being an athlete. If you have these other three here, strength, aerobic capacity, and great mobility, while you're going to be pretty athletic, but you're missing a fundamental ingredient stopping you from being a great athlete, which is explosive power. Don't sleep on that. And that is trained with, you can use tools like Olympic weightlifting, sprint workouts with weighted sprints with parachutes behind you, sled pushes, boxing. So many different sports need explosivity. So if you're training explosivity, I want you to train more like an athlete versus a bodybuilder. So if you're in the gym doing, curls and tricep extensions, you're building no explosive power whatsoever. But if you're in the gym training like an athlete, doing sprint repeats, doing sled pushes, doing clean pulls, compound movements where you have to explode into a bar or just explode your force in general, now you're training like an athlete and you're training that explosive power. So there you have it. You have your 4 core pillars of true fitness. You have a definition of what fitness truly is, which is something synonymous and adjacent with performance. And that's not to forget your organ health and your organs performance. But that is what true fitness is. So let me know, what do you guys think real fitness is? And what do you think of my definition and my opinion on what I think fitness is? None of this was made with AI. None of this was made with ChatGPT. This is all just opinion based. I'm a fitness fanatic. I'm a weightlifter, cyclist. I practice powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting and, a little bit of bodybuilding. So I think I'm a bit of a fitness know-it-all. And that's why I made this video. But what do you think? Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Let me know, engage with this video, and subscribe, join the Fit Fam so you catch the next video as soon as I upload it. I'm making weekly uploads that are instructional and conversational, all about fitness. Me personally, I'm a natural fitness athlete, if you couldn't tell. Not throwing any shade on my PD enhanced athletes, just not for me. And I'm just trying to turn around and take all the gifts that I received from keeping fit and give them back to you in the form of information, instruction, etc. So, appreciate you for watching this video. Catch you all on the next one. Stay fit, stay hydrated, stay natty, and peace. Catch you guys on the next one. Fit Unk out.